I'm going to talk to you on a subject which is very dear to my heart, metaphysics today. Some of you might know that Aristotle wrote physics first. Then after physics, he finished writing physics, he wrote psychology, which is called metaphysics. If you go into Latin, after physics comes metaphysics. Now, today, all of you will get excited when you hear the word science. Supposing you hear wellness, you don't get that much excited. The minute you say science, you get excited, as if science is a thing. You know, we have so many scientists of repute and things like that. But if you go into science and see what's happening right from the time of Roger Bacon, then Francis Bacon, then Galileo, then Darwin, and the present neo-Darwinists who are trying to sell Darwinism to the world, led by a man called Richard Dawkins, down to the present era, you will find all that they said has been proved wrong. This is the beauty of it. So, anything that changes is called science. Anything which does not change is called religion. Did you get that? Actually, there was a case against creationists and scientists in the federal court in America. This was about 10 years ago. The scientists said religion is nothing. It has nothing to do with science. Science is something which is what we do, and it's very important. Following that judgment, I wrote an article called Science is What Scientists Do. I captioned it in Dutch. You can get it in the internet. Wetenschap is what wetenschappen doen. Science is simply what scientists do. And what kind of science are we now doing? That's very important. Before I go there, I will give you a real life story. This is not a story. This is not a myth. This is what happened. There was a scientist couple in London who had only one son. This boy was 19 years old. I won't tell you the names. This boy had a peculiar disease, which we doctors in our Latin jargon say chronic fatigue syndrome. The boy couldn't get up in the morning. He has no enthusiasm in work. And eventually he loses all his muscle power. And he was bedridden, to cut the long story short. The father and the mother, quote unquote, both scientists, took him round the scientific world searching for a cure. The boy was going down. One day, one fine morning, a family friend walked into their house and they were having tea together. This boy was in bed in the room, but the room door was not closed. So the father and the mother were talking to this friend over a cup of tea, and the friend said, I have a treatment for your sons. He was not a doctor, he was not a scientist, he was a lay person. And the father said, what is that? Tell your son to go out into the garden and hug a tree for 1 hour every day. Both the father and the mother laughed at the suggestion. This fellow is an unscientific nincompoop who doesn't know what science is. Hugging a tree, will it cure my son? So they laughed at it. They had the tea. They all laughed, and the friend went away. But the boy had heard it. In his bed, he heard it. So he said, after all, he was desperate. He was going to die. So he said, I'll do something. So next morning, he got up at 4 o'clock before the parents had got up. It was summer. So he went out to the garden and hugged a tree. He hugged the tree every day, or Chada Saab must have also been there. And he hugged and hugged and hugged. After a month, the boy started getting up in the morning, walking and talking. Then the parents were nonplussed. What must have happened to my son? So they wanted to see what he is doing. So they also got up very early one day. And they found their son getting up at 4 o'clock, going out to the garden and hugging the tree. And that, to cut the long story again short, completely cured the boy, and the boy is back to normal now. Now the scientist father has written a book for all of you to read. The book's name is Blinded by Science. Blinded by Science. And the author's name is Matthew, Mathew, Silverstone, Silverstone. Matthew Silverstone's book gives you a beautiful history of this world of science. Now I come to our science, medical science, because we are interested in human beings, you are interested in wellness, illness, health, illness, and what have you. Let me tell you a small, very important message, and that is all that we call as medical science today, I am repeating the word, all that we call as medical science today is nothing but falsehood, mystery, and I may even say sorcery. What we are doing is the present reductionist science, treating the human body as a machine and treating the human body like a mechanical machine, like a motor car. Supposing the heart is not all right, I think I can replace a heart from someone else. Like if your carburetor goes out in a car, you put a new carburetor. But remember, after you transplant the heart, the man doesn't become normal. If anything, he becomes more abnormal than what he was before. Probably you don't know what the inside story is all about. We put into human beings hundreds and thousands of chemicals. Just as you agricultural scientists put thousands of chemicals into plants to protect them from the pests. Do you know the result? An American child now, a newborn American child, if you took a cord blood and analyzed it, has 250 deadly cancer-producing chemicals from pesticides as it is born. Why? Even the mother had the same chemicals in the body. And the whole world has this. And we say we live on fruit and vegetable. Every fruit has got poison. Every chemical has poison. Every vegetable has poison. You will probably eat an egg, which when I was young I used to say it's whole food because it's everything in it. It can grow into a chick. But today you take an egg which has got so much of hormones in it because they want to make more money quickly. If you want to make a chick into a bird on the table, normally it takes about 6 weeks to 12 weeks. If you want it in 3-4 weeks, you have to give growth hormone into the chick. And if you gave growth hormone and the chick goes faster, the chick gets lot of diseases. To prevent that, they load it with antibiotics. So today the egg that you get in the market is a combination of deadly antibiotics and hormones. And you take that, all of us eat the egg in the morning. What happens is, all of us have these antibiotics in small doses. And they start developing resistance against the germs. Germs start eating the antibiotic and living on it because it is a small dose. And we have now got germs in the world which can kill all of us without any problem whatsoever, which we call as multiple drug resistant germs. You take for example tuberculosis. In the 50s, India had about 2.5 lakhs to 3 lakhs of tuberculosis patients. If we had not imported the sparsely available anti-tubercular chemicals, today we wouldn't have had tuberculosis at all. But what is the result today? India is one country where the largest number of multiple drug-resistant tuberculosis patients are going about. Until they die, they will spread this germ all over the place. It may be a bus, it may be a plane, it may be a train, it may be a market. Any one of us going there, and if we get these germs, and if our immune system is not good, you and I will get also multi-drug resistant tuberculosis. This is a result of this science called reductionism. You divide this world into bits and pieces and then look at the piece and then try to project it on to the whole. Please remember, the whole need not be the sum total of the bits. There is something more to the whole than what the bits make. There is a saying called, you can grasp more than what you can assess. You can experience much more in this world than what you can measure. I'll give you an example. Now Peter always talks about love. Love, I love you. I ask Peter as a scientist, now a galaxy of scientists are sitting in front. Now let Peter measure love. And what cannot be measured is not science. Mary Curie said, I quote, science is measurement, measurement is science. So what can you can't, there's no love. Now ask a young boy or a girl who are in love. Ask them whether there is love or not. Now you ask them to measure that love, they can't. But they can feel that love. Similarly, a lot of us believe that religion and God don't exist. Only science exists because science cannot measure God. I give them a simple analogy. How many of you have seen the wind? An American poet, she writes, her name is Christina. And Christina writes so beautifully, who has seen the wind? Neither you nor I. But when the trees bend and dance, the wind is passing by. I have translated into God. Who has seen God? Neither you nor I. But when man is in trouble, he feels God. And that's why today, the present science, the science of holism, what's called quantum physics, it has not excluded God from the universe.